Hi and welcome to Richardson's Rubicon. My name is John Richardson, host of this glorious podcast. I just wanted to say that we have pivoted now to talking about EverQuest this season, and I had written a whole bunch of notes out around what I was going to talk about, but I just wanted to really talk about my experience in there. Now, I used to play EverQuest back in 2002, I think it was. I mean, some fact checkers out there can probably verify this for me, but I was playing on the Venril Sathir server. One of my characters was a cleric halfling, and that was Witherpot. And the other character was Rubicon, and he was a level 54 necromancer. And I think during that period of time, I was running a guild called Dawn Watchers, and it was very much focused on the lobby experience, so not necessarily newbies, although they were very welcome. Noobs, not so welcome, but lobies and newbies were very welcome. And we never really got to any sort of massive raid content or anything, but we did head over to the Great Divide in our heyday and do some Kyle faction there and all of that sort of stuff. And whilst I say that, I could actually barely remember it. So just the other day, I found myself sort of thinking, I remember the sounds, the audioscape, if you like, of EverQuest, when it just randomly came to me, the sounds that were in Misty Thicket and some of the other newbie zones. And I thought, oh, wow, I wonder if I can get back into EverQuest again, because I've not played it for years, 15 years, probably more. And I just thought, yeah, I kind of miss the vibe of EverQuest. I wonder if they still do it. So imagine my sheer delight when I found out that there are many, many ways to play EverQuest now. And you don't have to pay a monthly fee either. You can play it free, which I found amazing, I've got to say, especially with the cost of living crisis. And that's about as much politics as I'll do in this episode. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. So anyway, I found a website called project1999.com. It's got instructions on there on how to play and get yourself set up with an account and being a client and being able to log on to their servers. And wow, it was just like really stepping back in time. It was just incredible. All of the memories came flooding back. That sound that I was talking about in Misty Thicket, that came back. It was just absolutely incredible. I loved it. And I've got to say, I kind of welled up a little bit with the memories that used to come back. And I used to have tons and tons of friends on EverQuest, and unfortunately, sadly no more. But yeah, it was great. So head on to project1999.com, get the client downloaded from various sources on the internet, and then you can sort of log in and play the game. Now then, Project 1999 is all around classic EverQuest, so it's all of the stuff that happened before Planes of Power or in the Planes of Knowledge expansion. So there's no more sort of clicking on a book to transport you anywhere. You're very much reliant on porters, so primarily druids really, and whatnot, who can actually port you from one location to another, or make your own way. So I'm going to tell you about a little adventure that I had whilst I was setting up my character. I did actually set up a new character. It was a half-elf druid, and I called it Dalriata. I've not entirely been that character, but it's on hold. But anyway, I started off in Kenos, and I was trying to get to Butcherblock Mountains because everybody talks about how fantastic Butcherblock Mountains is for leveling up and whatnot. Oh my God. Talk about a baptism of fire. It's just incredible. So I made a post on the Project 1999 forums about it. So just bear with me whilst I try and find this post. Just bear with. Let me find it. Project 1999. Project 1999. I'll just go to the forums and I'll read you out this post because it was just incredible. I loved it. Right, so this is a post that I wrote on the forum. So I just said, hello, I just have to write this. I'm a new player to the whole P99 concept and I'm just utterly loving it. In this post, I want to give a big thank you to Yukio, who helped me on my first proper day in Norrath. There I was, minding my own business in Kinos when I started reading posts about how fabulous the Butcherblock Mountains were. So, at level 4, I decided to go there. And I remember from way back that the Karanas were dangerous, but crikey Moses, the adrenaline rush from running through there was incredible. Anyway, I made it through the Karanas and I came across Yukio, who I cheekily asked if they would help me get past through High Pass, which is also known as Orc Death Trap. I mean, it's like a twisty sort of pass, and you know, at level 4, you're dead. Really, you are dead. But I needed help getting through. So, and as I was writing this, I knew I wasn't fully getting the concept of how hard it was to trek that far. And you've also got to know that all of the modern sort of what they term quality of life facilities within a game, such as a minimap, they're disabled. You haven't got them in this version of EverQuest. So you're very much reliant on folders of printed out maps, or you're reliant on having a screen open and with a map of a zone up on another screen. So anyway, Yukio, she, and I'll refer to her as the presented gender of the character, she casts Invis on me and we set off, right? So I'm invisible. And it's night, and I've got to say, I can barely see a thing. And I'm not sure, I don't think I have any infravision or anything like that as a half-elf, and I've just got really poor. Well, I would have thought I would have had a bit more vision than I did, in all fairness. And it turns out that I had to turn my gamma up a little bit. But I had a firebeat lie in my secondary slot, and that was giving me some illumination. But everything was dark shades of red. Visibility was not great, I've got to say. So, and this is at night. So anyway, I know that to get to the pass, you've got to climb up to some altitude, and there are, you know, really quite steep cliff drops. So I was a little bit worried. I could barely see. You can imagine the scene. I could barely see. And following someone who has been very patient with me, I've got to say. And I get there anyway. So we make it. We zone in. And then she gets a bit lost. So we're all sort of running around, you know, at this point in time, a little bit scared, a little bit lost. And the adrenaline is really pumping. Now then, day breaks. And I'm concerned about two things. Getting more lost is my main concern. And I'm also worried about Invis running out, right? And, well, three things. I'm also really grateful for the fact that Yukio is being very, very helpful to me, and I feel as if I've really pushed that level of helpfulness a bit too far, and I really didn't expect her to do anything more for me, really. Anyway, she gets us through High Pass, and we end up in Kithikor, and I remember this zone very well from my days as a halfling cleric on live, and it was starting to turn to night. So I was just like, oh my God. Kithikor Forest at night is probably one of the most deadliest places you can ever be. There are things like undead clerics roaming around the zone, and, you know, you can get one-shotted into oblivion. And then you've got to go through the whole rigmarole of actually getting your corpse back, looting your corpse, or you lose your gear, you know, so it's quite harsh from that aspect. But I find that brilliant as well, because that gives you something to play for. You know, it's not easy. You're not getting a sort of level handed to you or anything like that. You're not being shown a little glitter trail of where it is you need to go. You've got to work out where you need to go. You've got to actually, if you die, you've got to, you know, get back to where you were and loot your corpse. Otherwise, all the stuff on your corpse is going to go. So, anyway, we made it. We hugged the wall all the way around, which is, I don't know, kind of cheating a little bit, but it's keeping out of the way of the mobs. And, you know, we make it to Rivervale. She refreshes Invis on me after she's bound me there. And corpses are all over Rivervale. And I think there are Ixars and I can't remember the name of them really. Someone will correct me. But basically there are corpses everywhere. So, I mean, in an odd way, seeing corpses should make you kind of like worried. But no, not really. It made me happy as it just means it's an active zone and there's lots of people playing. So I was really pleased about that. So we leave the comfort of Rivervale and the funky music and we hug the wall to reach the common lands. So, I mean, we make it through Kithical Forest again, no problem. Get to the common lands. And then I'm in there and, well, I got attacked by something. I can't remember what it was I got attacked by. I just remember nuking it. So I'm sorry, I'm like level 4. Yukio must have been, I don't know, mid-20s or something like that, or maybe more. And I'm stupidly trying to save her from whatever it is that's attacking us. I mean, she's probably sort of swatting it away. And I'm just like, I'll nuke this, don't worry about it. Anyway, I get promptly one-shotted by whatever it is this was, and I end up back in Rivervale again. So she's sort of hanging around common lands, and I didn't really want her to sort of spend any more time on me anyway. But she waited near my corpse, and we were grouped, so that was quite handy. And anyway, I'd sort of picked myself up from Rivervale, ran through Kithical Forest because it's now daytime, and it's fairly safe to just follow the path through there, and I looted my corpse. So, I mean, that was amazing. And that whole section there, that occupied me for some time in game, and the feelings that coursed through me were, there was mixtures of exhilaration and elation and disappointment and fear. So it just made me feel so, I know this is going to sound bizarre, but it made me feel so alive, and it was really good. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I took a walk to the East Commonlands tunnels to visit the bazaar. Now, when I used to play EverQuest back in the day, everyone had deserted the EC tunnels because they'd implemented a bazaar up on the moon of Luklin. And, I thought, well, I'll give this EC tunnels a try, see what that's like. And I don't know what I was expecting. I kind of like remember people saying they used to have like hundreds of player characters there, all hawking their wares and trying to sell stuff and, things like that. And I think there was about 20 people there. And whilst that wasn't a major amount of people, it was still really good because there was lots of people there who were buffing each other and giving out free buffs to newbies. And, there was all sorts of bits and bobs going on there. So it was quite a lively, lovely little atmosphere. So I quite liked that. So that was good. I mean, there was loads of player corpses at the front of the tunnels as well. Not sure what the story was there, but I would imagine that would have been because people had, well, obviously they've died, but I don't know whether it was because they were trying to get to the tunnels and, miscalculated the closeness to a mob that aggroed them, or whether it was some sort of deliberate stuff. I don't know. So yeah, that was quite an interesting experience and I loved it. And I wasn't even at Butcherblock Mountains yet. And I'd already experienced all of this just coming from Kinos. So the next step of the journey really was journeying through Freeport to get to the boat, which takes you to Butcherblock Mountains and various other locations. And I had a dim recollection of how to get to the docks. And luckily it worked out. I got there. It was absolutely fine. Then I had to wait for the boat. And it kind of like wasn't there for a long while, and then all of a sudden sort of popped into view, and then I sort of got on it. I couldn't remember whether you had to pay to get on the boat or not. That's the strangest thing. So I just felt like a little bit of a sort of, I don't know, what's the word? Stowaway. That's it. I felt as if I was just being a bit of a stowaway, which... when I pardon me, when I think about it now, I just think, well, that's stupid. What are you thinking, John? That's just amazingly stupid. Stop it. So I get to Butcherblock Mountains on the boat. I mean, it took about, 20 minutes. And I was a bit worried about the route because I didn't know whether I'd got on the right boat or not. And I also thought, would I recognise Butcherblock Mountain docks? And I did. I recognised them. So that was incredible as well. And the only thing I did wrong there really was I panicked about the boat not docking. So I jumped overboard and swam for the shore. Which, once I got to the shore, I looked back and the boat had docked. So that was a bit stupid. But anyway, I did that. So I needed to be bound as well. And, because when you die, you go back to your bind location. And I didn't want to end up going back to Rivervale anymore because that would have been a waste of time, seeing as the boat takes so long. So I sought a bind, and then someone basically offered to bind me, and that was great, except they offered to bind me near the docks, and that wasn't a city location. And I knew it didn't take because of the message that I got, but they seemed to think they'd helped. And I didn't want to really, this is a stupid British thing, I didn't want to appear impolite, so I thanked them for binding me and then sought a bind elsewhere. But yeah, it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was the whole thrill, the adrenaline rush, the little making up of my own little quest to get back on track, and the whole experience. So I just want to give a big shout out to everybody involved in implementing and putting together Project 1999. It was just utterly amazing to experience that. And I also want to say a big thank you to Yuriko, who devoted a large part of her time to helping me out as well. And that was on my level 4 halfling, half-elf druid. I since started Keanlock, who is also a level 4 druid at the moment, or maybe a bit higher, I can't remember. But I've also got Uramtik, who is a level 5 or so necromancer. And the aim of this podcast now will be to hopefully get some people on board where we can talk about EverQuest and particularly Project 1999. I did write to some of the server admins, but I haven't heard back, unfortunately. Maybe they're busy, maybe they're not interested, and that's all good. But I'd ideally like to have someone who is either new to Project 1999 or people who are well experienced. It really doesn't matter. Just anyone who's currently playing on Project 1999 and has something to say, very welcome to join the podcast. Now, you can always get in touch with me by visiting the website, richardsonsrubicon.com, and there's also ways to book scheduled appointments where we can record an episode if you like, and do all of that sort of good stuff, or just have a chat which will appear on the podcast. And yeah, I just like to really get in touch with people, because the most important thing about EverQuest is the social aspect. And I'm not going to be dishonest with you, it is really kind of like tough to get groups at lower levels, so you're kind of like forced a bit to solo, which I'm sure is not the ideal experience from what I remember. But if I can get some like-minded people together and we can sort of hang around together and level up together and put our opinions forth on this podcast, then that'll be great. I'll be absolutely made up. But in the meantime, anyone who just wants to sort of pitch in about the future of Project 1999, any of the other servers that are out there, give any of the other information, say about Project Quam or TAC Project, or, any of the sort of timeline progression servers in live. If anyone wants to give me some info on those or take part, then get in touch. You can email me at john@richardsonsrubicon.com or contact me on, via the website at richardsonsrubicon.com. I'm also in game, so you've got Keanlock, who is my druid, and Uramtik on P99 Green, who is my necromancer. So yeah, hit me up. And I've just loved this whole experience, I've got to say. And really, you guys are going to love it too. If you want to have like a bit of a free-to-play thing, no outlay really. I mean, it runs on probably low-end computers a bit better than it does on high-end computers, I've got to say. So, awesome. Just head along, project1999.com, and give it a blast. I look forward to hearing from you all, and I am already planning the next episode. This is amazing. Thank you very much. Take part, richardsonsrubicon.com. Get yourself a scheduled slot, right? Or get in touch, send me an email, or, all of that jazz. In fact, what you could do as well is if you've been particularly cruel to noobs or whatever, right? Then I've got a confessional section on the website where you can just perhaps put in what you did. I'll read it out on the podcast next episode. See you later. Cheers. Bye. 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 Bye.